Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 9th episode of story where Naruto's potential is greater than Sasuke Uchiha's, but owing to a life of rejection, he wasn't what was expected, yet beneath every fake smile is a real person who hides out of fear. Watch as Naruto Uzumaki develops into the prodigy he was born to be, as he discovers his ancestors, both his father and the Uzumaki lineage. Please hit the subscribe and like buttons. Let's get this party started. Naruto sat in the windowsill, an unlit cigarette propped in his mouth. His Sharingan was scanning the town, watching for any high chakra that would decide to move. He turned to look at those present in the room. Tsunade was reading a book, her leg crossed over the other, her elbow laid on the bed. Shizune was asleep on one of the smaller beds, and Jiraiya was sleeping in the corner, snoring loudly. Shikamaru was sleeping silently, his back to the headboard though a pillow was slammed over his ears. Tsunade looked up at Naruto and the cigarette hanging from his mouth. "Aren't you going to light it?" questioned Tsunade softly. Naruto smiled slightly and pulled it from his mouth. "Nah, can't bring myself to, it's like admitting defeat you know," said Naruto equally as soft. Tsunade smiled as she looked down at her book. "I think every shinobi has their vice. Jiraiya is a pervert, Shizune likes to pack things then unpack them, Shikamaru seems to enjoy his shogi, I drink sake. The list goes on. Nobody will think any little of you," said Tsunade. Naruto smiled at her. "Oh, I know, but I think the smoking was a one-off thing. I just like to have something to focus on," said Naruto. Tsunade nodded. She reached down into her suitcase and pulled out a small pack, tossing it to Naruto. He caught them out of the air easily. "Senbon, Genma Shiranui does the same thing, though is his normal senbon. Those can channel chakra," said Tsunade. Naruto opened the pack and saw 100 tightly packed senbon. Taking one out he placed it in between his teeth. He practiced channeling his chakra, and found the metal eagerly complied. "These must have been expensive," said Naruto softly. Tsunade smiled at him. "Don't worry about it," said Tsunade. Naruto sighed and looked at the sky outside. "Do you think he will take the bait?" said Naruto softly. Tsunade sighed. "I wish I knew the answer to that. All I know is, Orochimaru is very smart," said Tsunade. Naruto nodded. "But also very desperate, and that makes a man needy," said Naruto. Tsunade nodded seriously. "Just make sure you are ready for Kabuto," said Tsunade. Naruto smirked. "I have been training, I have mastered the Hiraishin chakra, and am on my way to understanding how the kunai work. I also have a jutsu of my own design," said Naruto. Tsunade looked surprised briefly. "Well done, if we survive this, you can have this. The ultimate bet, are you in?" questioned Tsunade. Naruto frowned slightly. Tsunade was holding out an expensive-looking green jewel that was hung around her neck. "What do I have to give if we lose?" questioned Naruto. Tsunade smiled sadly. "If we are caught off guard, we won't have much to give each other," said Tsunade. Naruto smirked at her. "I have too much left to do, I won't die," said Naruto honestly. Tsunade smiled. "A week has already been, and I feel so different," said Tsunade. Naruto smiled at her. "A week of finding out the truth about yourself," said Naruto. They heard a chuckle, and both gave identical glares in Jiraiya's location. He grinned even wider. "Look at you two, talking to each other like your old women," laughed Jiraiya. Naruto threw a senbon with deadly speed. It grazed Jiraiya's ear. "Nice shot," Tsunade chuckled. Naruto frowned slightly. "I need to practice, I miss," deadpanned Naruto. Jiraiya blanched slightly and Tsunade burst out laughing, waking everyone else up. Shizune saw the honest laugh on her teacher and friend's face and smiled warmly. Shikamaru just groaned and hid in the cover. "Let's get ready," said Tsunade. Naruto sighed and stood, placing the senbon pouch onto his belt. He put on his flak jacket and zipped it up. Soon everyone was up and ready for battle. Naruto looked at Shikamaru and nodded. "We have a pretty detailed plan on how it can go down, meaning we get away without too much of a fight. First of all we need to weaken Kabuto, that will give Orochimaru pause," said Naruto. Shikamaru continued. "We basically have to lure him away, Naruto and I will deal with him. Then Naruto will basically throw a battered Kabuto at Orochimaru, hopefully instilling pause enough for him to consider a runaway," said Shikamaru. Naruto nodded his head in agreement. "What do we do?" questioned Tsunade. Shikamaru sighed. "We couldn't plan that, for we don't know what Orochimaru can or cannot do with his arms in that condition," said Shikamaru. Naruto frowned slightly. "He will fight you, which is the type of person he is," said Naruto. Tsunade nodded. "You have experience with fighting Orochimaru?" questioned Tsunade. Naruto nodded woodenly. "He beat me of course, but I still put up one hell of a fight," said Naruto. Tsunade laughed briefly and nodded. "Let's go, if he is waiting too long, he will sense something is wrong," said Shikamaru. Naruto, Jiraiya and Shikamaru waited behind whilst Tsunade and Shizune went off. "How are we going to distract Kabuto?" questioned Jiraiya. Naruto and Shikamaru looked at each other. "We don't, we fight him in front of Orochimaru." Tsunade's surprise should be real enough that he won't suspect a thing, said Naruto with a smirk. "You two are certainly dangerous," said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded and moved to the window. "Let's go introduce ourselves officially to Kabuto," laughed Naruto. Tsunade was panting, her body was shaking, blood was dripping down her body. They were in a large clearing with large rocks scattered around. Orochimaru and Kabuto were stood next to each other, whilst Shizune was panting on the ground. "Even after all this time, that is still your weakness," laughed Orochimaru. Kabuto walked towards Tsunade, stabbing a kunai into his hand, causing blood to squirt out. "Get back," whispered Tsunade. Kabuto laughed spitefully. "I have lost a lot of respect for you as a medic nin," laughed Kabuto. He was about to stab forward, when a blue line cut through his forearm, his clenched hand dropping to the floor. Kabuto stumbled backwards as blood spurted and pain rained through his body. "Picking on a harmless old lady, Kabuto, you are as snake-like as your master," said Naruto as he appeared out of thin air, his sword clicking home. Kabuto stumbled to pick his arm up, only to be forced backwards by a hard kick. Naruto bent down and hugged Tsunade tightly. "And Naruto," whispered Tsunade. Naruto smiled sadly. "Hey grandma, come on, you are strong, Dan and Nawaki wouldn't want to see you like this," said Naruto. Tsunade shook violently. I can't," whispered Tsunade. Naruto smiled at her, his smile kind. "You can. You have to become Hokage, so I can take the seat from you," laughed Naruto. Tsunade felt her body relax, looking into Naruto's relaxed face, he was the epitome of calm and cool. Naruto turned and glared at Kabuto and Orochimaru. "You really do keep getting in my way," said Orochimaru simply, a glare on his face. Naruto tensed, he watched as Kabuto grabbed hold of his fallen arm, holding it to his arm. Naruto watched in awe as Kabuto's eyes glowed red and the arm sealed itself together. "Creepy," muttered Naruto. Orochimaru smirked. "We have experimented on many Uzumaki, trying to identify what makes them live so long, and thankfully we found it, giving birth to the strangest technique to walk this earth," said Orochimaru. Naruto stood slowly, his hand clenching the hilt of his blade. Naruto muttered Jiraiya as he landed next to Tsunade. Shikamaru moved to Shizune. "Looks like the three senin are together at last," said Orochimaru. Tsunade saw the dark look in Naruto's eyes. The fact that they had experimented on unknown kinsmen had clearly upset Naruto. "Orochimaru, you will die here," said Tsunade, her voice shaking slightly. "You think you can beat me? Look at you, Tsunade." "A medic afraid of blood," said Orochimaru with a laugh. Naruto tensed as three massive chakras flared at each other. Naruto flared his own, and then each of them moved through the exact same hand seals, Kabuto doing it for Orochimaru. With four large explosion of smoke, Shikamaru gasped at the size of the four beasts. One was a toad, he was colored a dull, rusty red, but around his eyes and on his lips and chest are brighter red markings. Over his left eye, he has a large scar, but can still see out of his eye. His tongue had a series of stud-like piercings on both the upper and lower side. He was wearing a large blue happy vest, and was carrying a massive dosu blade at his hip. He also had a large kizaru pipe which stuck out of his mouth. The next was a large slug. It was predominantly white in color with three blue streaks that ran vertically down the middle and side of its body from its head and tapering off at its tail. Its optical tentacles had a slight tint of gray to them, and it also had two sensory tentacles on either side of its mouth. The next was a large snake. He was colored purple, and had black rings running down intervals on his body. He had massive fangs, though they were arranged in a way similar to that of a constrictor snake. It also had four protrusions on his head. Finally there was a large ice-white fox. It had blue on the edges of its tail, and ice-blue eyes. Its tail seemed to be flaming slightly. "Well, I'll be damned, Kizuna, you are still alive," said the large toad. Kizuna the fox snorted at the giant toad. "Age Mabunta," as loud as ever said the fox in a regal tone. Orochimaru and Tsunade looked at the giant fox shocked. "Kizuna-kun, lovely to see you again," said the slug. Game Abunda snorted, and the giant snake was hissing slightly. "Katsuyu, are you well?" questioned the giant fox. Katsuyu nodded her giant head slightly. "I have been very well," said Katsuyu. The giant snake hissed louder, moving backwards from the fox. "Manda, I have been looking forward to this," said the fox with a low growl. Manda hissed. "Looks like Naruto-kun has a lot of secrets," said Kabuto. Orochimaru was looking at the calm Naruto. Naruto was stood on the fox's head, his arms down by his sides, his large sleeves blowing in the wind, his hair doing the same. His hand holding the sheath of his sword, his jonin vest was zipped up. This brat has truly passed all my expectations. If Akatsuki get hold of him, it would mean the end of the world, thought Orochimaru. He looked at Naruto seriously. Naruto truly is one of a kind, thought Shikamaru. Orochimaru glared slightly. I must kill him now, before he sticks a wrench in everyone's plans, thought Orochimaru. With a silent command, Manda attacked the fox viciously. The fox weaved expertly. Katsuyu and Gamabunda joined in. Kabuto lunged at Naruto. Naruto saw Kabuto coming and pulled out his blade. Come, said Naruto forcefully. Kabuto spun two kunai in his hands and attacked. Naruto weaved expertly through the attacks. Kabuto was growing angry quickly. Naruto parried and dodged where needed. You think you are so strong, don't you, Naruto-kun, said Kabuto. Naruto smirked. Kabuto watched as Naruto blurred, a searing pain burning through different points in his body. So slow, said Naruto. Kabuto fought through the pain. He turned and lunged at Naruto. Naruto ducked backwards. He slammed the hilt of his blade into Kabuto's stomach. He slid backwards and sliced outwards viciously. Kabuto coughed out blood as he stumbled backwards. I get to test out a new jutsu, said Naruto. Naruto placed the blade in its sheath and slammed the end of the sheath into the ground. He clapped his hands together, and as he pulled them apart, there was a thin line of blue fire. It was spiraling dangerously. Everyone paused, minus the large fighting summons. Naruto spun the arrow in his hand. Kabuto fell to his knee. Naruto held the arrow in his grip and threw it like a javelin. It flew towards Kabuto with deadly accuracy. As it hit, there was a sound of a thunderclap, and then a large explosion of a giant fireball. It expanded, tearing up the ground. The flames died down, showing nothing but a burnt crater. Naruto spun as Orochimaru landed behind him. Kabuto was led behind him. Naruto ducked as Orochimaru tried to kick him. His arms were useless. Naruto ducked and felt someone trip him up. Orochimaru slammed his foot into Naruto's stomach. Almost instantly, a blade came out of Orochimaru's mouth, and with a downward slash, he tried to cleave Naruto in two. Naruto teleported to his blade. He unsheathed the blade, in time to block a stab from Orochimaru. Naruto's Sharingan spun and they were both locked in a battle. Orochimaru cursed as Manda disappeared, his head being in the jaws of Kizuna. Gamabunta looked moody. Orochimaru dashed back to Kabuto, and Kabuto shakily shunshined them away. Naruto collapsed to his knee. His jutsu had taken a lot of control. Nicely done, brat, said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded and shakily stood. That was a boring battle, said Naruto. Kizuna nodded in agreement. The fox bowed to Naruto and disappeared, Katsuyu and Gamabunta following shortly. Let's get back to the hotel, there I can treat everyone's wounds, said Tsunade. Hinata was walking quickly through the village. She was wearing her usual ninja outfit, a bag strapped to her back. People moaned as she ran past them. Occasionally she would bump into them. She took to the rooftops when the streets were getting too crowded. She landed outside the academy with a sigh, her body sweating, her chest heaving. Hinata-kun, called Sakura. Hinata looked up from leaning over and smiled exhaustedly. Hello Sakura-san, stuttered Hinata. Sakura helped Hinata stand. Everything is almost sorted. Lee is distracting Naruto and Shikamaru, said Sakura. Hinata smiled slightly and moved towards the academy building. As they walked through the hall, they smiled at Hiruka and Anko, who were stood close together in the hallway. As they passed, Hinata looked at Sakura. Do you think they suspect anything? Questioned Hinata. Both girls were made jump by Sasuke. We are organizing a party for two of the smartest people in the village. If they don't, I would be suspicious, said Sasuke. Hinata turned and smiled at him slightly. Sakura just held her chest and glared at Sasuke. Sasuke-kun, please remember to make at least one sound before you talk, said Sakura, clenching her fist tightly. Sorry Sakura, said Sasuke, a sweat drop falling down his temple. Hinata chuckled slightly and moved through the double doors to the academy hall. It was decorated with paper shuriken and kunai. Sitting on one of the tables was a cake with black, red and white icing. Wrapped food decorated the tables. Gifts were put on another table, each for the specified person. Do you think Naruto-kun will appreciate it? Stuttered Hinata. Sasuke smirked slightly. I am sure he will, said Sasuke. Sakura sighed. What about Shikamaru, do you think he will? Questioned Sakura. Ino laughed boisterously as she walked up to them. Shikamaru won't care, he will claim it's too bothersome, laughed Ino. Choji nodded with a grunt as a response, his mouth full of food. Sakura clenched her fist. Is that food from the table, Choji? Snarled Sakura. Choji gulped and sweated slightly. No, he stuttered. Sasuke placed a hand on Sakura's shoulder. Come on Sakura, leave him alone, said Sasuke smoothly. Hinata chuckled at the blank look and bright blush on Sakura's face. Sakura-san, chuckled Hinata. Ino looked furious, so she stepped up to Sakura. Hinata moved away, Sasuke following closely. "I will miss him too, you know?" said Sasuke. Hinata eeped and blushed furiously. I know," she stuttered. Sasuke laughed. "Hinata, don't doubt yourself so much. Naruto would do anything to ensure your safety," said Sasuke. Hinata smiled sadly. "I know, I just wish he would see me like I see him," said Hinata. Sasuke laughed slightly. "Oh, he does." Sasuke chuckled. He walked off, leaving Hinata blushing madly. "Hinata-kun, where is your idiot?" questioned Kiba loudly. Hinata frowned slightly. "My idiot?" questioned Hinata. Kiba laughed. "Yeah, Naruto, where is he?" questioned Kiba. Hinata blushed furiously, her mind conjuring images. She felt her vision swim and sound mute. Naruto flipped backwards, dodging one of Lee's kicks. Naruto landed on his feet, and pulled up his sheathed blade to block one of Lee's crushing kicks. Lee in the same movement flipped, using his other leg to kick Naruto's head. Naruto bent backwards, Lee's leg sailing over his head. Lee steadied himself and slammed a foot downwards, still aiming for Naruto's head. Lee cursed under his breath as the sound of a blade being drawn met his ear. Naruto slid part of his blade out, enough that Lee's foot was on a collision course with the sharp end of the blade. Lee pushed off of Naruto and backward flipped, landing on his feet. Naruto flipped onto one of his hands, the other clicking the blade home. Naruto landed on his feet, and stood in his normal stance. "There are a lot of flaws with your taijutsu, Naruto-kun," said Lee honestly. Naruto nodded his head seriously. Lee gave a brief nod and dashed forward. Lee struck out a punch at Naruto. Naruto tilted his head slightly, the fist sailed past. Naruto ducked and spun his leg. Lee jumped expertly, dodging the hit. Naruto flipped, kicking upward. Lee simply spun in midair, catching Naruto's attack. "Ma, this is boring," said Shikamaru. Neji was stood with his hospital gown on. "Naruto-san, are you sure you don't want me to hold your sword?" said Neji. Shikamaru frowned slightly. It had been a month and a half since they had retrieved Tsunade, and ever since they got back, Neji followed Naruto everywhere. Both were friendly with each other, and Neji wouldn't allow anyone to say a bad word about Hinata or Neji. "Nah, it's alright Neji, I am going to stop now," said Naruto. He flipped back onto his feet and sighed. "Shikamaru, would you like to fight?" questioned Lee. Shikamaru shook his head rapidly. Naruto fingered his long hair. Nodding, Naruto turned and walked towards the village. "Going somewhere?" questioned Neji. Naruto smiled slightly. "Going to get a haircut. It's too hot to have this long hair," said Naruto. Lee looked frightened. He needed to keep Naruto away from the academy at all costs. "Gai-sensei, forgive me," thought Lee, tears streaming on his metal face. "If you are getting a haircut, then I shall as well, because you are my rival," said Lee. Naruto raised an eyebrow as he saw the discomfort on Lee's face. "That's alright Lee, I don't need you to follow me," said Naruto kindly. Lee looked shocked. "But I must because I wish to have my hair cut," said Lee. Naruto smirked and shook his head. Neji looked shocked. "Lee, you never cut your hair," said Neji. Lee looked at Neji painfully, and Neji smirked. Shikamaru and Naruto shared a look. "Come on then Lee," said Naruto. He nodded his head to Shikamaru and Neji. Naruto walked with his hands in his pocket. His blade was in its case, which was slung over his right shoulder. He was wearing a large blue jumper that swallowed his slim body. He was also wearing a pair of black shorts and black ninja sandals. Lee was wearing his normal jumpsuit and leg warmers. As they got closer to the barber, Naruto laughed at Lee's discomfort. They walked through the door, and the women looked up from the front desk. "Ah, Uzumaki-san, how lovely to have Konoha's hero in my store. How can I help you?" questioned the women. Naruto smiled at her. Lee looked even more uncomfortable. The sounds of scissors. "Just want my hair cut, as does my friend, right Lee?" questioned Naruto. Lee jumped slightly and gulped. "Yes please," said Lee. The women smiled kindly and walked forward. "Of course, we don't get many of you ninja in here. They don't trust us with sharp objects," laughed the women. Naruto smirked. "I know silly, if they are a good ninja, they wouldn't be caught off guard like that," said Naruto. The woman nodded her head in exasperation. "I get enough business, but hey, ninja need to trust more," said the women. Naruto laughed and sat in the designated chair. "Are you alright Lee?" questioned Naruto. Inside he was smirking. "Huh, yeah," said Lee as he sat down. Another woman behind him began to run her fingers through Lee's hair. The main woman was doing the same to Naruto. "It is going to be such a shame to cut up all this lovely red hair," said the women. Naruto laughed as he tilted his head back. "I want a cooler design," said Naruto. The women pulled on the two horns. "What about these, what do you use to stick them up?" questioned the women. Naruto laughed lightly. "They stick up themselves, but I am sure you can find a good style, right?" questioned Naruto. He heard the sound of snipping. He looked at Lee out the corner of his eye and almost burst out laughing. Lee looked horrified. After a couple of hours Naruto and Lee stepped out of the barber. Naruto had paid for both his and Lee's. Lee was walking out on a stupor. Naruto's hair was cut short, the sides were extremely short, the top of his head was longer, just falling over his forehead. It was swept to the side slightly. As his hair went further back on the top of his head it was cropped shorter, but still longer than the sides. The back was cut into a triangle, the point being at the base of his neck. It was blended in with the short sides. Naruto's horns were trimmed to make them more manageable. Lee's hair was trimmed short all around, then the women had put a special gel in to make it disheveled. Naruto ruffled the top of his hair slightly and chuckled at Lee. "You didn't have to get your hair done, Lee," said Naruto. Lee jumped slightly and his hand woodenly went to his hair. "I feel like one of those movie stars," said Lee. Naruto laughed slightly and smirked when Neji choked on a drink when he saw Lee. "You actually did it?" said Neji in a stupor. Shikamaru smirked at Naruto. "You let him do it?" laughed Shikamaru. Naruto shrugged. Kiba, Sasuke, Choji and Shino both walked up to them. They each looked at Naruto's hairstyle, then froze at Lee's, but it wasn't the hair, it was the fact that the women had trimmed Lee's eyebrows. Naruto was cracking up, as did everyone else, but Kiba guffawed loudly. "Oh my god, Lee, you look normal," said Kiba. Lee looked mildly offended before he sighed. "I had to do what I had to," said Lee. Naruto chuckled and looked at everyone. "What are you here for?" questioned Naruto. Kiba smiled. "We thought we should all take a trip to the hot springs," said Kiba. Naruto frowned slightly. "No thanks, I was planning on going to see Hinata," said Naruto. Kiba didn't even give Naruto a choice and he just dragged him off. Hinata was stood in the clothes store, her hands linked together in front of her, a blush on her face. Ino and Sakura were both twirling in dresses. Tenten had already purchased hers and was frowning as she looked at Hinata. "Are you not buying a dress?" questioned Tenten. Hinata shook her head vigorously. "Come on Hinata-kun, you have to buy one, impress Naruto," said Ino. Sakura frowned slightly. "You don't have to buy something like us Hinata, we can find something that suits you," said Sakura. Hinata just shook her head. I am fine," said Hinata. Sakura smiled kindly at her. "No one is going to judge you Hinata," said Sakura. Hinata sighed and moved to the dress rack. Naruto scowled as he and Shikamaru walked down the deserted hall of the academy. They were told to come because the Chunin were having a meeting. Naruto and Shikamaru were then told to dress casually but smart. Both being smart, they immediately guessed what could be going on. They had both speculated all day, but it was proven when they were told the dress code. Naruto sighed and threw open the door. Balloons fell from the ceiling and everyone said surprise. Naruto and Shikamaru both threw a look to each other and nodded. Instantly they both pretended to be surprised. Naruto heard the party was thrown because he and Shikamaru were leaving tonight for Anbu training. Naruto was talking to people when he caught sight of Hinata. She was wearing a kimono-style dress that stopped just before the knee. It was lavender in color and was tied together with a cream obi. She was wearing a pair of small silver heels. Her Heim-style haircut was in place, with one side bang of her hair being held with a flower hair clip. Naruto moved through the guests as he got to Hinata. He looked down on her with a smile. The music that was playing took a smooth turn. Naruto bowed slightly and held out a hand. Hinata blushed and accepted his hand. Naruto pulled Hinata close as his arms wound around her. She flushed bright and started swaying with him to the music. "I will miss you, you know," said Naruto softly. Hinata blushed and smiled slightly. "Me too, I like your hair, it makes you look like a troublemaker," laughed Hinata. Naruto smiled at her. To him the world faded away. "Thank you, so what are your plans while I am away?" questioned Naruto. Hinata smiled at him. "Train harder, catch up to you," said Hinata. Naruto brushed a stray strand of hair out of her face. "If anyone can do it you can," said Naruto. They were both at ease, the aura around them felt natural. They danced long after the song had stopped. Everyone was sneakily watching them. Naruto and Hinata spoke, their faces close together. They both moved closer, their lips an inch away. A flash tore them away. Anko was smirking, Kurenai and Iruka were both shaking their heads. Naruto and Hinata pulled away from each other, blushes on their faces. Sasuke was awoken with a rapping at his window. Groaning, Sasuke rolled over and stepped out of his bed. He walked to his window. He saw a note held beneath his window. The night sky was clear, the moon was high in the sky. Sasuke peeled the note out from beneath his window. His hands clenched the paper tight. Sasuke Uchiha, Lord Orochimaru has grown impatient. He wishes for your company. As a bargaining chip we have kidnapped one Hinata Hyuga. One is to make sure that Naruto Uzumaki does not follow. And another is for you to know, if you don't come, her death will be on your hands, the note read. Sasuke tensed. Naruto was gone, as was Shikamaru. Sasuke ran to his cupboard, throwing on his high-collared blue shirt, his white shorts and kunai pouch. He ran to the Hokage's office, his speed faster than he had ever run before. He landed on the windowsill of the Hokage's office. Tsunade was talking to a furious Hiashi Hyuga and a few of the Hyuga clan, including Neji. Sasuke opened the window and climbed through. "Who the hell do you think you are, climbing through my window like that?" growled Tsunade. Sasuke held out the note. Tsunade snatched it from him. She read through it quickly, her eyes narrowing. "Tsunade-hime, what is it?" questioned Hiashi Hyuga. Tsunade sighed and flopped into her chair. "Orochimaru has kidnapped Hinata," said Tsunade. Hiashi felt his heart thump unevenly. He sat in the chair in front of Tsunade. "I knew she was gone." "Wait until I get back." "Did he say why?" questioned Hiashi. Tsunade looked at Sasuke. "He says he will trade Sasuke for Hinata," said Tsunade. Neji frowned. "But that doesn't make sense. What does she have to do with Sasuke?" questioned Neji. Tsunade sighed and gave Neji a look. "It's to make sure Naruto doesn't interfere," said Tsunade. Hiashi looked confused. "Why would Orochimaru care about Naruto?" questioned Hiashi. Tsunade sighed. "Orochimaru feels very threatened by Naruto. Naruto is by all extension the strongest ninja in the world," said Tsunade. Hiashi frowned. "How so?" questioned Hiashi. Tsunade motioned for everyone else to leave. Once the door was closed, Tsunade activated the seal and the room shimmered slightly. "This information has not been made public, Hiashi. Naruto has told me a lot about himself. He and his grandfather, his biological one, had a very long talk about Naruto's bloodline. Many people have wondered how Naruto obtained the Sharingan. The answer is simple. He is from the direct blood of the third son, of the Sage of Six Paths," said Tsunade. Hiashi looked confused. "I thought the Sage of Six Paths was a myth," questioned Hiashi. Tsunade smiled slightly. "You of all people should not discredit such notions. The Dujutsu came from him. Anyway, Naruto comes from the undiluted bloodline of the Sage, through his Uzumaki blood. But he has access to much more than he knows, for he is also blood-related into the Senju clan through Minato. Minato's father also has a shifty background that needs to be researched," said Tsunade. Hiashi looked shell-shocked. "So Naruto has access to every Dujutsu?" questioned Hiashi. Tsunade nodded. "But Naruto also has so much more. He has the body, will and power of the Sage. Naruto is the Sage's reincarnation, and that is the power Orochimaru fears," said Tsunade. Hiashi frowned. "The Sharingan is not the final stage, is it?" questioned Hiashi. Tsunade shook her head. "No, he devolved from the Rinnegan, the legendary Dujutsu. He now has to unlock back to that," said Tsunade. Hiashi frowned slightly. "Why would such a power devolve?" questioned Hiashi. Tsunade sighed. "That we do not know. Naruto speculates that it is all about mindset. An Uchiha unlocks their Sharingan when the mindset is correct. Naruto thinks that because he wasn't of the right mindset his Rinnegan devolved. I don't fully believe that. I think it's all about chakra control," said Tsunade. Hiashi shook his head. "Naruto's chakra is very well controlled for someone of his disposition. I think it may be a pure case of evolution. He witnessed a power so great, he needed to earn it," said Hiashi. Tsunade shrugged. "Who knows? Naruto has been trying to further the Sharingan, but as such he has been blocked," said Tsunade. Hiashi sighed. "What of my daughter?" questioned Hiashi. Tsunade nodded seriously. She dropped the seal around the room, and with a click of her fingers, an anbu dropped onto the ground. "Get me, Sasuke, Neji, Shino, Kiba, Choji and Sakura," said Tsunade. The anbu nodded and disappeared. Hiashi and Tsunade sat, and once the room was then filled with the people Tsunade wanted. "Tsunade-sama, am I going on this mission?" questioned Sasuke. Tsunade frowned. "I know you were banned from any exterior missions, but this is an important matter. Those fools of the council can bring this to me," said Tsunade. Sakura looked confused. "Tsunade-sama, what are we doing?" questioned Sakura. Tsunade stood up from her desk. "You are going to go retrieve Hinata Hyuga. She has been kidnapped and we have to get her back. There is one condition, Naruto Uzumaki must not know," said Tsunade. Neji looked uncomfortable. "Who took her?" growled Kiba. Tsunade sighed. Orochimaru, a Sannin, you cannot engage him, you just need to retrieve Hinata and that is it, said Tsunade. The team nodded. What is our leaving time, questioned Shino. Tsunade just heaved another sigh. As soon as possible. Naruto cannot know, said Tsunade. They each nodded and left the room. Neji stood looking at Tsunade. I cannot justify hiding this from Naruto, said Neji. Hiashi looked confused. Why not, Neji questioned Hiashi. When the village was being attacked in the Chunin exams, people attempted to kidnap Hinata-sama. She was fighting them off, and she was eventually overpowered. She was amazingly strong, I must say. Anyway, I jumped in and saved her. She received a few cuts and bruises, but we came off okay. Naruto found out and he thanked me. He apologized for the damage he caused and he shook my hand, said Neji. Hiashi and Tsunade could see Neji's will in his eyes. He had been influenced by Naruto. So Neji, the Hokage has spoken, said Hiashi. Neji set his jaw. Naruto has to find out, otherwise it will only come back to bite this village hard, said Neji. Tsunade shook her head. What if Naruto finds Hinata dead? Who of us here is strong enough to take down such a powerful force? Neji, Naruto has an ability none of you have ever seen, said Tsunade. Neji smirked. Naruto told us all of the QB. He warned us that if one of us were to be hurt, he would use his power to defend us. If you hide this from him, he will turn that power against us, and I will stand by him, said Neji. His jaw set. Tsunade sighed. Neji is an order from your Hokage. You are not allowed to say a word to Naruto. Are we clear, said Tsunade. Neji glared slightly. We are clear, said Neji. He spun gracefully and stormed out of the door. Tsunade sighed. I have never seen him get like that. I know he and Naruto have been spending a lot of time together, but I have never seen him outright go against an order, said Hiashi. Tsunade smiled slightly. Naruto is a good influence, isn't he, said Tsunade. Hiashi laughed briefly, something odd coming from him. He was worried, but he had faith in Neji and his friends. He is indeed, said Hiashi. Sasuke stood looking out of the front gates. His mind was racing. I need to do this for Naruto. He still doesn't trust me. I know I am still jealous of him, and a part of me still wants retribution. But I have to let that go. When I was sat in my cell, the Hokage came to see me. He told me about Naruto, about power and about Madara Uchiha. I don't want to be like that. I did, but not now. Itachi, I will become stronger than you in my own way, thought Sasuke. He was released by the Hokage so he could go visit Naruto. Sasuke had had the epiphany a few nights before. Sasuke was on probation of no out-of-village missions for 6 months. Sasuke knew he got off lightly because of his name. He heard the team land next to him. Who is leader, questioned Shino simply. Sasuke looked to Neji and nodded. I will, said Kiba. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Neji will, he has more experience, said Sasuke. Sakura nodded. Without a Chunin we have to prove ourselves, said Sakura. The team all looked at each other and Neji began to issue the orders. We are the Hinata retrieval squad. We have to keep an eye out. Kiba, take point. We will follow your nose. Sasuke behind him, for cover should Kiba not sense anything. I will be next. I will watch the front and back. Shino behind me, Choji then Sakura. That way Sakura can back us up with medic ninjutsu, said Neji. Everyone nodded and got into position. Without a word they leapt off into the trees. Naruto was folding his clothes, putting them onto the cupboard he was allowed. He was wearing a black shirt that was sleeveless, the tight material went up his throat ending at his chin. He wore a pair of black pants, he had white tape wrapped around his thigh. His bunk buddy was already setting up the shogi board. They had another 2 people as part of their group, but they hadn't turned up yet. God, I am bored already, and training hasn't even started yet, said Shikamaru. Naruto laughed and pulled off his clothes, opting for something more comfortable. I know, I wonder how everyone is doing, questioned Naruto. There was a loud knocking on their door. Nara, a message for you, said the Anbu captain. Shikamaru sighed and jumped off of the top bunk. He opened the door and took a step out. What is it, questioned Shikamaru. He was handed a note. Shikamaru read the note and scowled. Attached was a copy of another note. He read it and looked mildly frightened. What is it, Shikamaru? You are shaking like a leaf. Your mom isn't coming to visit us, she laughed. Naruto. Shikamaru pocketed the note. Naruto, get your gear ready. We have got to see the Hokage, said Shikamaru. Naruto watched as Shikamaru turned slowly, his eyes cautious. Why, questioned Naruto, getting serious? Because Hinata has been kidnapped, and Tsunade doesn't want you to know, said Shikamaru. Tsunade was looking into the eyes of each of her Jonin sensei, and spare Jonin. They were all whispering as to why they were there. Tsunade looked at each of the Jonin in the face. I have called you here, because you are to be on standby in case. But before Tsunade could finish, a potent killing intent appeared in the room. Naruto and Shikamaru appeared out of nowhere, Naruto's eyes glaring hotly at Tsunade. "You didn't want me to know?" questioned Naruto. Tsunade glared. "Who told you? Neji?" questioned Tsunade. Naruto glared even harder. "No, Shikamaru did, and he received an anonymous letter," said Naruto, his voice like ice. Everyone stepped back as the temperature dropped drastically. Sarutobi was sat in the corner of the room with an amused stare on his face. "So what do you want?" "I have already sent a squad," said Tsunade. Naruto stood ramrod straight. "Who?" he questioned. Tsunade just glared. "Who do you think you are talking to?" "I am the Hokage. If I don't want you to know, then you won't," said Tsunade. Naruto slammed the bottom of his sheath into the floor. The room seemed to darken as his Sharingan flashed. "You were going to cover it all up, what if she has been hurt?" said Naruto. Tsunade glared. "Then I would have told you," said Tsunade. Naruto glared hotly. "When it is too late for me to do anything?" questioned Naruto. Tsunade stood, slamming her hands into the table. "What do you want?" she yelled. Naruto looked at her icily. "Send me to get her, now," said Naruto. His tone was regal and frozen. "No, you have no right to demand anything from your cage," said Tsunade. Naruto turned and started walking towards the door. "Give me the mission, or I will leave, and turn into an enemy of the village, I promised her," said Naruto. Tsunade sat with a stare. "You can't just do what you want," said Tsunade. She sighed. "Go," said Tsunade. Naruto was about to move when Tsunade frowned. "What?" he asked. She glared at him. "This isn't over," she said. Naruto disappeared. Shikamaru sighed. "That hothead forgot about me," said Shikamaru. Tsunade sighed. "You will be part of the Naruto relief squad. I want you to be on call, in case Naruto loses it," said Tsunade painfully. "You expect him to?" questioned Shikamaru. Tsunade just rubbed her forehead. "I don't know what is going to happen from here," said Tsunade. Naruto landed with one foot on the ground, and then he was gone. A loud shudder left in his wake. He was dashing forward faster and faster. He couldn't teleport because he didn't know where he was going. He was just following the chakra signature of Sasuke. Naruto landed on the ground once more, and in a blur he jumped and flipped, kunai and shuriken lodging in the ground. Naruto landed in a clearing. 4 ninja were stood looking at him. One was a large man, towering over the rest of his teammates. He had orange eyes and 3 tufts of orange hair on his head, a mohawk of sorts that ran down the middle and 2 similar styled tufts of hair at the side. He wore a sleeveless tunic with the symbol of their team on the hem, along with black arm warmers, a pair of black, 3/4 length pants that stopped just below his knees. Along with this, he wore sandals with leg warmers, covered by bandages, a purple robe belt around his waist, and a necklace that comprised of circular pieces, separate long, metallic pieces. Next to him was a female. Her most distinctive feature was her long, untamed, pink hair. She wore a black hat with bandages on the side. She also wore a tan tunic, along with all of the other members of the team, with black shorts and standard black shinobi sandals. Next was a dark-skinned shinobi with black hair and eyes. He had 6 arms. He wore a black, sleeveless top and shorts. Over this he wore a tunic that bore the symbol similar to the others, and a rope belt. He also wore the forehead protector of the Sound Village along with arm warmers, shinobi sandals and bandages around his legs. The final member in the quartet was a strange silver-haired male, with another head on his back. He wore brown tunics with long black wristbands, black skin-tight shorts, and purple ropes tied around their waists. He also wore a dark-red, beaded necklace around his neck and a giant scroll behind his back. Naruto stood in a defensive position, his hand holding his blade, his thumb beneath the guard. "You are in my way," said Naruto, his tone menacing. The 4 seemed unfazed. "Lord Orochimaru has requested we stop you should you manage to catch up," said the one with 6 arms. "He has sentenced you to your deaths," said Naruto. He crouched and the 4 moved into action. The orange-haired one slammed his hand in the ground. "Earth Release Barrier, Earth Prison of Magnificent Nothingness," said the orange-haired one. Naruto simply walked forward, dodging a shuriken thrown. He was about to jump when the silver-haired ninja jumped high, forcing Naruto to block his kick. Naruto cursed as the cave closed, forcing Naruto into a small dome. "How easy, Kabuto was a fool to fear this brat," said the pink cat. Naruto smirked. He was about to move when something began to feel odd. Naruto felt it immediately, the fluctuation in his chakra. The cave was sucking out his chakra. Naruto walked to one of the walls and simply walked through it, the yellow lightning coursing around him. He backward flipped onto the top of the rock and held the hilt of his blade in his hand. "Indeed, too easy," said Naruto. The girl swore, and before any of them could move, Naruto was flipping over the orange-haired one. His blade slices were blocked by kunai from the girl and the six-armed man. Naruto landed on his feet, and in the same motion flipped over once more, dodging a fast strike from the two-headed man. Naruto was beginning to become frustrated, sliding his blade home, the two kunai shattered, and the orange-haired man turned shakily, one of his arms dropping to the floor. The four looked shocked briefly. "You bastard!" yelled the orange-haired one. With his arm raised, he charged at Naruto. Naruto twirled the sheathed blade in his hand and threw it high in the sky. The black shroud covered his body. The orange-haired man punched with an extreme force. Naruto watched as the other three moved backwards, giving them some room. They must either be confident or stupid. Naruto thought to himself. Naruto caught the punch and a thunderous clap echoed across the clearing. The ground behind Naruto was upturned in a curve. The same happened behind the orange-haired one. They were stood in the center of the ground tearing up. "You are strong," said the orange-haired one. Naruto in a show, lifted him off the ground, throwing him over his back. Naruto blurred and appeared with one foot in the large man's stomach. The man coughed out and flew against the tree. Naruto felt the man's chakra increase. Naruto ducked backwards as the fist flew over his head. Naruto flipped backwards dodging another strike. Naruto landed on his feet, twisting his body and catching the extended fist. Naruto forced a clawed palm into the man's stomach. The man doubled over. Naruto rolled over the man's back. To everyone watching, it happened in a blur. But to Naruto everything moved slower. He reached out and caught the hilt of his blade as it was just in front of him, unsheathing it without touching the sheath. It had fallen from the sky. He finished his roll over the large man, the sheath still continuing its descent into the ground. Naruto slashed quickly, his arms moving in a blur. He rolled back over and caught the sheath a millimeter before it touched the ground. He landed on his feet, in front of the orange-haired man. To everyone else, Naruto just blurred, and then he was stood sliding the edge of his katana against the opening of the sheath. He started to slide the blade into its sheath, agonizingly slowly. The orange-haired one tried to stand. Naruto unblinkingly clicked the blade home. Blood spurted everywhere. The orange-haired man fell to pieces. The other three looked mildly shocked. Naruto glared at them with his icy silver eyes. "Next," said Naruto softly, but full of power. The silver-haired one stepped forward. "You will find I am a different opponent to Jirobo," said the silver-haired one. Naruto smirked cockily, his hair suiting his new look. "I hope you move well," said Naruto. The silver-haired one shivered slightly. The look on Naruto's face was pure power. The silver-haired one dashed forward, his fist cocked back. Naruto dodged to the side, then felt a fist punch into his stomach. He skidded backwards slightly. Naruto frowned slightly. "How do I move then, trash?" questioned the silver-haired boy. Naruto smirked. "Good, I might enjoy this," said Naruto. The silver-haired one went to move forward when Naruto was suddenly upon him, a fist striking the silver-haired one in the face. Naruto flipped backwards dodging a kick that came from the man's midriff. "Got it," Naruto thought with a smirk. Naruto pulled the blade from his sheath, pointing it at the crouched silver-haired man. "How about a name to the faces, not that they matter," said Naruto. The silver-haired man smirked. "Why should I tell you, trash? I will have your pretty little blade as a souvenir as well as your head," said the silver-haired man. "For fuck's sake, Sakon, hurry your ass up," said the female member. Naruto smirked at Sakon. "Your teammate doesn't seem to share your taste for theatrics," said Naruto. He bowed deeply, his blade moving out to the side, pointing towards the floor. "What are you?" questioned Sakon, but he was interrupted by Naruto. "Let's dance, move," said Naruto, and he vanished. Sakon ducked backwards as Naruto appeared in front of him, his blade thrust forward. Naruto spun and quickly slashed again. Sakon cursed. Naruto smirked and flipped over Sakon, his blade moving straight for the other head. Naruto watched as Sakon rolled forward. Naruto flicked out an arm. Spiraling blue blades appeared around Sakon. Sakon kept on flipping as each of the blades moved to cut Sakon. Naruto jumped spinning in midair as a strange orange arrow landed in the ground. "Sakon, we need to catch up to the other group," said the six-armed man. Sakon snarled. "Fine Kitamura, let's go, I will leave Ukon here," said Sakon. Naruto watched as the head disappeared from the back of Sakon. The three were about to take off when Naruto took a step forward. "Don't underestimate me," said Naruto. His black shroud turned blue. His Sharingan spun, his eyes glowing red. "Oh, we aren't, we just need to stop that other team," Lord Orochimaru has interesting plans for Sasuke Uchiha and Hinata Hyuga, said Kitamura. Naruto snarled, he felt his blood boil. Before he could take a step forward, his way was blocked by a spinning kick. Naruto dodged easily. Another Sakon was stood smirking at him, a black tattoo spreading across his body. Oh, don't worry, I don't intend to take my time, I will have you begging for death, said Ukon. Naruto sighed and ruffled his short hair. I have somewhere else to be, let's finish this quickly, said Naruto. The blue shroud shone brighter. They were leaping through the trees, never breaking formation. Neji was growing concerned. Earlier he had sensed 4 chakras. When he had found the 4 ninja sat in the tree he tensed ready for an attack, but none came. He had been racking his brain for the next hour, trying to think of why they would wait there. The answer, when it came, made him smirk. They were waiting for Naruto, and Naruto would obliterate them. Neji almost faltered when he saw what awaited them. Everyone stop, said Neji. They were in a clearing, quite away from what he had just seen, meaning only he knew it was there. Why did we stop? Said Kiba breathlessly. Shino stirred slightly. There is a whole army of ninja waiting up ahead, about 75 meters away, said Shino. Sasuke looked at Neji shocked. He saw the strain on Neji's temples. We will take it easy, we are far enough away that they won't hear us, but they will sense our chakra, said Sasuke. Neji nodded and Sakura moved her hands to Neji's temple. Her hand glowed green with chakra. How many are there? Questioned Choji. Neji sighed. I am afraid I didn't see them all. Shino, did you sense them earlier? Questioned Neji. Shino shook his head. No, I did not. Why? Because I would have told you as soon as I had sensed them. My Kikaku were ahead, and I sent them further when you told us to stop, said Shino. Neji nodded and thanked Shino, who simply inclined his head. Damn, we can't make it through an army, said Kiba. Neji frowned, as did Sasuke and Shino. Yes, but think about who Orochimaru doesn't want to come. He will have planned in case he did, said Sakura. Everyone looked at her, then understanding appeared on their face. But why an army? Naruto would be slaughtered, said Choji. Sasuke and Sakura looked at each other. No, he wouldn't. You forget who his dad is, he is the son of the Yellow Flash, said Sakura. Sasuke smirked. Naruto has his own name now, you know, said Sasuke. Neji was about to speak when he heard a familiar whistle in the air. Everyone move, said Neji. 3 kunai embedded in the ground. Exploding paper tags on the end. Sasuke cursed and his hands flashed through hand seals. Fire release, great fireball technique, called out Sasuke, and a fireball flew towards the kunai. The sizzling sound cut off, and the ninja tensed waiting for an explosion. They each leapt back, giving it a wide berth. When the smoke cleared, they saw the tags almost consumed. Sasuke's fire had stopped it and burned them up. You must be Sasuke Uchiha, said a red-haired girl. She landed in the clearing. Next to her were Kitamura and Sakon. You are the ones waiting for Naruto Uzumaki, said Neji. The red-headed girl laughed. Indeed we were, but he should be finished about now, said the red-headed girl. As if to add effect, a large explosion echoed through the air. How did you catch up so fast? Questioned Shino. The girl smirked. I placed a special web on you. It slows your movements, that's why you have been traveling for so long, said Kitamura. Neji then checked their bodies. They were covered with a web that was unnoticeable unless you knew what you were looking for. Who are you? Questioned Sasuke. They smirked. We are Orochimaru's elite. They chorused. The girl looked at Sasuke. You may leave, tell the army your name and they will let you pass, said the girl. Sasuke looked at the team, and with a nod he dashed through the trees. Now we get to have some fun with you, said Kitamura. Sakura clenched her fists. Choji gulped. Kiba growled. Shino stood still. Buzzing could be heard and Neji stood at the forefront. Sakura, Choji, take the silver-haired one. Kiba, Shino the girl, said Neji. Kitamura laughed. You heard the boy, let's get this show on the road, laughed Kitamura. He lunged at Neji, who activated his Byakugan almost instantly. Neji dodged the blows. He saw each arm easily as they went to strike him. Neji ducked a few shots and seamlessly slammed 2 fingers, effectively closing off 2 chakra points. Kitamura jumped backwards and spat a web at Neji. Neji instantly saw the chakra running through the web and immediately charged chakra to his hands and cut the ropes. Kitamura cursed and began to spit more webs. Neji charged forward, slicing through the webs easily. Neji kicked Kitamura in the chest. Neji's body dropped. One arm was out behind him, palm flat. The other was pointing towards the floor, palm flat as well. 8 trigrams 64 palms, said Neji. Kitamura cursed as he was thrown backward. Neji stood in the Hyuga stance, his eyes glaring. "You're lucky, I covered my body with a rock-hard shell, not even your tiny chakra pulses can break through," said Kitamaru. Kitamaru was sweating mentally. "This brat is good, I can't fight him close range." Kitamaru thought. He flipped backwards, his hands flashing through hand seals. He flipped into the tree, spitting out blobs of orange substance, shaping them into arrows. He threw them speedily at Neji. Neji ducked and weaved, his fist striking and smashing the hardened blobs he couldn't dodge. Neji pressed forward. His flexibility and ocular prowess was proving difficult for Kitamaru. He flipped backwards as the branch exploded. Neji's palm struck against it. Neji flipped and landed a kick. Kitamaru blocked one of the strikes. He moved to punch, but Neji was already spinning his body. A bright blue orb made up of chakra struck at Kitamaru. Kitamaru cursed as he was thrown backwards. His back cracking against the tree, Neji stood with a calm countenance. "Face it, you have lost," said Neji coldly. Kitamaru laughed, black tattoos stretching across his skin. "You think one little jutsu can beat me? It is impossible," said Kitamaru. Neji smirked. "I used to think so too, but a friend taught me that a single strike can decide a match," said Neji. Kitamaru laughed viciously. "I will show you a monster, you will fear me," said Kitamaru. Neji smirked as Kitamaru stood up. "We will see," said Neji. Kitamaru blurred. Neji ducked his head backwards, his eyes wide briefly. "He is fast, not as fast as Naruto, but this could be dangerous," thought Neji. He flipped over Kitamaru, his fingers tapping Tenketsu. Neji jumped backwards and looked at the chakra burns on his fingers. "Ha, he can't even touch my Tenketsu without burning himself, looks like I have the better ground," thought Kitamaru. He flipped backwards higher into the tree, his fingers flashing through hand seals. "Summoning jutsu, Kyodagmo," said Kitamaru. Smoke filled the air, and webs shot out, covering the canopy with a giant web. Sat in the center of the web was a large spider, a large egg sac on its back. "Shit, a summons," thought Neji. His mind was focused. Kitamaru laughed. "Time for you to die, rain of spiders," called Kitamaru. He leapt and cut the egg sac. Neji cursed, and dropped into the 8 trigram stance. The spiders fell into his view, and with increased speed, he destroyed the spiders before they even landed on the ground. Neji was panting. Kitamaru laughed as more spiders dropped. Neji dropped into the 8 trigram stance once more, his mind going back to his conversation with Naruto. Flashback. Neji awoke with a sharp breath. He wasn't alone, he could sense a calm presence in the room. Sitting up, he winced slightly. He saw Naruto sat in the only chair in the room, one that has been frequently occupied by his uncle. Naruto's silver eye reflected the moon. His eyes were on Neji. "Serious? I owe you an apology," said Naruto. Neji looked shocked. "For what?" said Neji bitterly, his body still aching from Naruto's assault. "You protected her, for that I am eternally grateful," said Naruto. Neji stopped his witty comment. "You don't have to thank me, it is my job to protect the main house," said Neji bitterly once again. Naruto smiled at him softly. "Your bitterness amuses me, Neji. Being sealed isn't a bad thing. There are some things we cannot control. It is moving above these things and prove to our captors that we are stronger than them, that they can't affect us," said Naruto. Neji was about to come back when he saw the distant look in Naruto's eyes. "I am sorry, but you can't honestly understand what I am going through?" said Neji. Naruto's eyes shone with humor. "You are probably right, thank you once again. You saved my most precious friend," said Naruto. Neji saw something flicker in Naruto's eyes. It wasn't friendly, it was love. Neji kept his mouth shut. He would allow Naruto to figure out himself. Naruto left the room as silent as he entered. Neji sat on his bed thoughtful. "He is a strange one. I wish to know more about Naruto Uzumaki," thought Neji. End flashback. Neji opened his eyes, fire burning deep within them. His chakra increased and he destroyed even more spiders than last time. Kitamaru looked shocked. Neji looked serious. Neji stopped and in a blur, he disappeared. Kitamaru ducked as a glowing hand swiped over his head. Neji moved fluently, with a grace only a genius of the Hyuga like him could obtain. Kitamaru cursed as a hard stab of chakra pierced his arm. In the same movement, Neji spun stabbing 2 more arms. Kitamaru kicked out harshly. Neji flipped over his legs, his hands gripping onto Kitamaru's head. Kitamaru felt a burst of chakra enter his mind, and the world widened out. Neji took a step back, his breath panting. "I win," said Neji. He turned to leave, when Kitamaru's chakra skyrocketed. Neji turned sharply, a fist colliding with his cheek. Neji flew into the ground cracking from the force. "Don't underestimate me," said Kitamaru, his eyes wide. Kitamaru had a third eye on his forehead, his headband had fallen to the floor, his skin had become noticeably darker, his canine teeth and fingernails had elongated, he had grew a pair of horns, his irises had turned black and his hair had changed to gray. He was glaring at Neji. Neji shakily stood. He looked up at Kitamaru who was glaring at him hotly. How?" coughed out Neji. Kitamaru glared harder. "I almost died, but Orochimaru has gifted my teammates and I special powers. You cannot hope to beat me." "Game over," said Kitamaru. The spiders fell with extreme velocity. Neji knew he didn't have time to use 8 trigrams, so Neji spun, an orb of chakra surrounding him. Kitamaru threw a rain of kunai. They hit the slowing orb. Neji stopped and clutched the top of his shoulder. A kunai sat on his shoulder. "Wait, I hit him?" thought Kitamaru. He smirked viciously, licking his lips. "Damn it, don't let him notice," thought Neji. He pulled the kunai out and tossed it at Kitamaru who deflected it simply. Kitamaru clicked and spiders rained once more. Neji spun, knowing it was his only opportunity. "Now let's see," thought Kitamaru. Neji slowed his spin, and felt 2 more kunai strike him from behind. Kitamaru gave a vicious laugh. Neji cursed as blood flowed down his back. Kitamaru was about to click again, when the giant spider screeched and was unsummoned. A kunai lodged in its belly. Neji smirked at Kitamaru. Kitamaru gave an equal smirk. Kitamaru created a bow out of sticky gold, his other hands holding shuriken. Neji cursed as kunai rained on him. His chakra was running extremely low. He spun once more, and felt an arrow pierce right through him. Coughing out blood, Neji stumbled forward. "This guy is smart," thought Neji. He was about to stand up once more, but another arrow pierced through him. Neji stumbled forward, but began to run. Running away, Leaf Ninja are all the same, thought Kitamaru. He notched an arrow, a piece of string attached to the end, the string coming from his mouth. "Die!" snarled Kitamaru. He fired the arrow, and used the string to change the arrow slightly, pushing it into Neji's blind spot. Neji cursed as the arrow pierced through him. He fell forward, arrows sticking out of his back. "Naruto, Hinata, Tenten." There was so much I needed to say. "Naruto, you helped show me the light. Hinata, so kind, you never hated me, you always tried to support me. Tenten, there is just too much," thought Neji. Kitamaru began to laugh. His third eye closed. His target was dead. Kitamaru was about to cut off the string when his chakra exploded out of him. His heart thudded. Neji was stood shakily, his fingers on the string. "No, he managed to push his chakra through without sensing me. He is good," thought Kitamaru. His heart thudded once more before it stopped. Neji sat against a tree, his eyes looking up towards the sky. His body was numb. "Naruto, protector," thought Neji, before his eyes slid closed. Choji and Sakura dodged another strong punch from Sakon. Choji was panting slightly. Sakura was just watching Sakon's movements. They had moved quite a distance from Neji, but they could still feel his chakra. Sakon stood glaring at his opponents. He was worried about his twin, who hadn't arrived yet. Surely the redhead couldn't be that strong. Sakon and Ukon were considered the strongest of the Sound Four. Sakura and Choji were just watching Sakon. "Looks like we can get this fight on the road. Be aware I am only at half strength. My brother is busy fighting the fiery redhead," said Sakon. Instantly, instead of fear, he saw relief on their faces. "Then this should be easy," said Sakura. Sakon laughed boisterously. "You seem to be underestimating us," said Sakon. Sakura gave a smirk of her own. "Naruto is on a mission. He will not stop until Hinata is back," said Sakura. Sakon laughed evilly. "Orochimaru-sama has plans for the Hyuga girl, something about experimenting, and when Sasuke is old enough, and the girl's will has been broken. Sharingan/Byakugan babies," said Sakon. Sakura and Choji looked disgusted. "Does Naruto know?" questioned Choji. Sakon laughed. "Nope, Orochimaru-sama wishes to tell him himself, if he makes it that far," said Sakon. Sakura was glaring at Sakon. She pulled a pair of gloves from her pocket. She was wearing her usual outfit of tan pants and red t-shirt, her long hair tied up in a bun, held together with a senbon. Sakura pulled on the gloves, stretching them over her hands. She cracked her knuckles. Choji felt the power exuding from Sakura. He was shocked. She must be stronger than Ino, this chakra, so controlled. Thought Choji. Sakura gave him a look out of her eyes. "Choji, let's show him why the leaf never abandons a comrade," said Sakura forcefully. Choji gulped and nodded his head. He saw the calm look on Sakon's face and felt his gut clench painfully. Choji steeled himself. knowing he needed to fight to get to Hinata. "Ready to die? Let's fight trash," said Sakon. He moved in a blur. He attacked Choji first, but Choji jumped backwards, the punch cracking the ground. Choji rolled backwards as a kick sent him back. Kitamaru was running at him. Choji saw Sakura running. Choji was scared. He had never faced an enemy without his team, or his sensei. Choji clenched, his eyes closed, Shikamaru's face flashing. "Yeah, I am going into Anbu with Naruto. I think we both have a pretty good chance at protecting everyone, you, Ino included. Choji, get stronger, you could be the best, if you just believed in yourself," was Shikamaru's parting words at the party. Choji opened his eyes, he caught the fist, he felt the force exerted and using the opponent's momentum against him, he flipped Sakon over him and sent him hurtling towards the trees. Choji jumped up, his eyes on Sakura, who was nodding at him. They both turned to see Sakon covered in black markings. "I really want to draw this out, but my brother should have been here by now. I will have to finish this quickly," said Sakon. Choji swallowed a green Akimichi pill. Sakura felt Choji's chakra spike and nodded her head. "Choji, we really need to get him to stop. One hit and I should be able to get him," said Sakura. Choji nodded, his arms and hands expanding. "Leave the grabbing to me, be ready," said Choji. Sakura nodded her head. Sakon dashed at them, both dodging the expert strikes. All three were moving effortlessly. Sakon was cursing as Choji clipped him a couple of times. He dodged the pinkette. He could feel her chakra. She was stronger than she let on. Sakon went to strike out, but felt someone grab him tightly. He quickly pushed outwards. The hand let go. The girl missed another shot. She cursed under her breath and spun, trying to hit him. She felt a force strike her stomach, forcing her backwards. "You two are just kids. You cannot beat me," said Sakon. Choji moved quickly. He slammed his two giant hands into the ground, causing it to tear up. Sakon stumbled slightly, but kick from behind sent his flying forwards. He felt two large fingers holding his neck. The pressure tightened. "Now Sakura!" yelled Choji. Sakon turned his head and cursed. Sakura's hands were glowing blue. She was jumping down, her fist connected with Sakon's face. Choji released immediately and jumped back. Sakon was pushed into the ground. The ground exploded, causing a crater. Sakura jumped out and landed next to Choji, tightening her gloves. Choji looked shocked. Sakura just stood tall, her eyes focused. "Sakura, what was that?" whispered Choji. Sakura smiled at him slightly. "I have been training," said Sakura. Choji nodded seriously. "I can see that, but how did you learn that strength?" questioned Choji. Sakura smiled at him slightly. "Tsunade Senju," said Sakura, her mind remembering what led her to Tsunade. Flashback. Sakura was walking through the village. Naruto and Hinata were both shopping together, talking about nothing. Sakura shook her head and muttered about Naruto not knowing anything. She was half tempted to go find Sasuke, but thought better of it. Naruto saw her across the road. He dragged Hinata by the arm. Said girl blushed slightly. "Hey Sakura, what are you doing?" questioned Naruto. Sakura smiled at him. "Nothing, just trying to think of something to do." "What are you two doing?" questioned Sakura. Naruto laughed and hugged Hinata into his side. "Hinata-kun and I are shopping for clothes. I need some new stuff and I wanted to buy Hinata-kun some stuff," said Naruto happily. Hinata looked equally as happy. Both were so in love, but oblivious to the other's feelings, more so on Naruto's side than Hinata's. Sakura was envious of such a pure love. They both loved each other wholeheartedly. Sakura's thoughts drifted to Sasuke. Was she being realistic in her love for him? "That's cool Naruto, don't forget to buy her something nice," said Sakura. Naruto looked offended. "Of course, Hinata-kun deserves the best," said Naruto with a happy smile. Hinata blushed again. "Naruto-kun, we are here for clothes, not anything for me," said Hinata. Naruto just laughed and hugged her closer. "Well, that's no fun," said Naruto. Sakura just laughed. Nobody made Naruto so carefree like Hinata did. It was like a switch. Naruto would be calm, but the moment Hinata was about, Naruto was so expressive and happy. Hinata just sighed. "Come on Naruto-kun, otherwise we won't have time to get ramen," said Hinata. Naruto nodded and began to walk away. Naruto turned to look at Sakura. "Sakura, perhaps a training opportunity with the world's best medic nin is what you need. Go see Tsunade," said Naruto. Sakura nodded and walked towards the Hokage tower. Tsunade had greeted her with examples of Sakura's genius in medic ninjutsu. The hospital had shining references and Tsunade was impressed. They began training the next day. Sakura had trained physically till exhausted, wanting to be her best. Flashback end. Choji sighed as they both relaxed. They wondered how their teammates were faring, and if Sasuke had got through the army. Choji was about to reach for his chips when a voice from behind them startled them. "Don't get cocky," said the voice menacingly. Sakura cried out as a spiked arm slammed into her side. She was thrown against a tree. Choji coughed as a foot slammed into him. He landed on his back. A foot stomped onto his chest painfully. Sakura tried to stand, but a sharp pain shot through her. She placed her hand against her ribs. Her hand shone green. Sakon was stood over Choji, a menacing stare on his disfigured face. He resembled a goblin with red skin, long white hair, and a single horn protruding from his head. "I didn't think I would actually have to activate this," said Sakon. Sakura heard Choji cry out in pain as a foot slammed into him. Sakura tried to stand, but her ribs ached in protest. Choji was in agony. The foot restlessly attacked him with super strength. Choji felt his vision swim. "Choji, remember, you are strong, don't let anyone tell you any different," said Asuma. Choji sighed in frustration. "But sensei, Team 7 are ridiculously strong, even Sakura is strong, and Naruto he was the class dead last," said Choji. Asuma blew out a plume of smoke. "Choji, labels mean nothing. Naruto is strong through training and natural genius, Sasuke is the same, Sakura has trained hard for her skills, just like you. Choji, there will come a time when you need to prove to everyone you are strong, like Naruto has done," said Asuma. Choji remembered that conversation shortly after the exam finals and resulting attack. Choji had his worries about his place in the ninja system. Choji needed to prove he was strong. Choji caught the foot as it came down again. With a roar he pushed up. Sakon looked shocked. He was pushed off of his feet. Choji blurred. His hands clapped together. They were large. They slammed Sakon into the ground. Sakon held his hands up as Choji lifted his hands up again. "It is useless, you can't win," said Sakon. Choji roared as he slammed his hands down. There was a sickening crunch as his hands slammed into the ground. He lifted them and blanched at the mangled body in the crater. Sakura struggled to walk forward. She felt a chakra pulse. "Choji, you need to move," cried out Sakura. Choji felt a force strike his chest. He coughed out blood. "So weak, you think that one hit will do," said the mangled Sakon. His arms were broken, as was one of his feet. Choji coughed out blood. "Choji, are you okay?" called out Sakura. Choji popped, was shakily trying to put the yellow pill in his mouth, but his hand was kicked, his fingers bending in horrible angles. "Don't bother, I have had enough," said Sakon. He saw about to slam his foot into Choji's face, but a fist caught Sakon's side. His feet lifted off of the floor. Sakura was gritting her teeth. "Shanaro!" cried out Sakura as she slammed Sakon into the ground tearing up, throwing Choji away. Sakon coughed out blood as his ribs collapsed. Sakura pushed her fist in, raising it up and charging chakra quickly. She slammed it into Sakon's chest. The crunch and resulting blood spray caused her to wince, but she ignored it as she stood, blood dripping from her fist and face. She climbed out of the hole. She saw Choji lead facing up, blood trailing out of his mouth. She shakily moved towards him on her knees, her other arm supporting her ribs. She was struggling to breath. She hovered over Choji. "Is he dead?" wheezed Choji. Sakura saw how much Choji was struggling. "Choji, I need your cooperation, I need to heal you," said Sakura. Choji nodded shakily and coughed more blood. "Things are getting pretty cold and dark," said Choji. Sakura cried as her hands shone green. Choji felt the warmth of the healing, but his body was fighting. "Choji, I need you to concentrate," said Sakura. Choji sighed and felt his eyes slide closed. "Sakura, don't worry, at least I proved I was strong," said Choji breathlessly. Sakura cried more. "Don't say that, I will get you back to the village," said Sakura. She felt Neji's chakra flutter, before it disappeared. "Sakura, did you feel that?" whispered Choji. Sakura cried hard. "Choji, please, I need to help you," said Sakura. Choji smiled at the sky. "Tell Shikamaru and Naruto how." "Well, I did," said Choji. Sakura laughed and focused on the healing. "Tell them yourself," said Sakura. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.